I should have known something was wrong when I found the locked room in my fiancé's family mansion. But by then, I was already in too deep. My name is Alexandra Pierce, and I'm about to tell you how I discovered that the fairy tale I was living was built on the suffering of thousands. This is the story of how love blinded me and how the truth almost killed me. Picture this. 4th of July weekend, the Hamptons, a private beach where each grain of sand probably costs more than most people's monthly rent. That's where Marcus Castellano proposed to me, and I said yes without hesitation. Why wouldn't I? Marcus was everything. Handsome, brilliant, kind. We'd met at a charity gala in Manhattan 2 years earlier. One of those black tie events where the champagne flows and everyone pretends to care about causes while really just networking. I was there representing my father's venture capital firm. Marcus was there because, well, his family owned half the real estate in the room. The Castellanos. If you live in America and you've stayed in a hotel, eaten at a restaurant, or shopped at a mall in the last 30 years, you've probably given them money. They own hospitality chains, restaurant franchises, commercial real estate across 48 states. Forbes estimated their wealth at somewhere north of $8 billion. My family wasn't exactly poor either. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It truly helps this channel grow and allows me to bring you more gripping stories like this one. Your support means everything and takes just 2 seconds. Now, let's get back to Alexandra's story. The Pierces built our fortune in tech. My grandfather founded one of the first software companies in Silicon Valley back in the 70s. My father expanded into venture capital and turned millions into billions by betting early on companies that became household names. We were comfortable, very comfortable. But the Castellanos, they were in a different stratosphere. Marcus's proposal was perfect. Sunset. Violinist playing our song. A ring that could have fed a small country. He got down on one knee in the sand and said, "Alex, you make me want to be the man my family name says I should be." I cried. Of course I cried. This was everything I'd dreamed of since I was a little girl watching Disney movies and believing in happily ever after. The wedding was set for 6 months later. Spring in Napa Valley, at the Castellano family's private vineyard. 300 guests. Vera Wang dress. The whole production. Both families were thrilled. My father called it the merger of the decade. A joke, but also not really a joke. When 2 billionaire families unite, it's never just about love. It's about power, legacy, empire building. But I didn't care about any of that. I loved Marcus, and I truly believed he loved me. That belief lasted exactly 4 months and 13 days. The trouble started when we moved into the Castellano family estate in Greenwich, Connecticut. Marcus wanted us to live there during our engagement, to get used to being part of the family. His parents, Vincent and Elena Castellano, insisted on it. The estate was obscene. 23 bedrooms, indoor pool, wine cellar that could stock a restaurant for decades, gardens that required a full-time staff of 6, the kind of wealth that stops being impressive and starts being unsettling. But it wasn't the size that bothered me. It was the atmosphere. Something about that house felt wrong from the moment I stepped through the doors with my suitcases. Vincent Castellano was a tall, imposing man in his mid-60s with steel-gray hair and eyes that never quite smiled, even when his mouth did. He greeted me warmly enough, but there was something calculated about it. Every word, every gesture felt rehearsed. Elena was warmer, or at least better at faking it. She hugged me, called me Mija, showed me around the house like we were already family. But I noticed how the staff tensed when she entered a room, how they avoided eye contact. "You'll be happy here," Elena said, showing me to the bedroom Marcus and I would share, separate from his childhood room, thankfully. "The Castellanos take care of their own." The way she said "their own" made my skin prickle, like being part of this family was both a privilege and a prison. Marcus was different at the estate, more formal, more careful with his words. He'd always been composed. You don't grow up with that much money without learning to control yourself. But here, in his parents' house, he was someone else entirely. "Is everything okay?" I asked him one night, a week after we'd moved in. We were in bed, and he was staring at the ceiling like it held answers to questions I couldn't hear. "Everything's fine," he said, but he didn't look at me. "Marcus, talk to me." He finally turned his head. "It's just being back here. There's a lot of pressure. The wedding, combining our families' businesses, living up to expectations. My father has plans." "What kind of plans?" "Expansion, new ventures. He wants to leverage our marriage, politically and financially." I frowned. That's how it works in families like ours, Alex. You know that." I did know that. My own father had spent 2 hours on the phone with Vincent the day after our engagement, discussing synergies and strategic opportunities. This was never going to be just a wedding. It was a business transaction dressed up in white lace. But something in Marcus's voice made me uneasy, like he was trying to convince himself as much as me. I found the locked room 3 weeks into living at the estate. I wasn't snooping. Not really. I was just exploring. The house was so massive that I kept discovering new hallways, new wings, new spaces I didn't know existed. This particular door was on the 3rd floor, at the end of a corridor I'd wandered down while Marcus was in the city for meetings. It looked like all the other doors, dark wood, brass handle, except this one wouldn't open. I tried the handle twice, thinking it was stuck. Then I noticed the keypad beside it. Digital lock, red light glowing, weird. Every other room in the house was open. Even Vincent's private study wasn't locked. I'd walked in there by accident once, apologized, and he'd just waved me off with a smile. So why was this room different? "Can I help you with something?" I jumped. Elena was standing at the end of the hallway watching me. I hadn't heard her approach. "I was just looking around," I said, trying to sound casual. "This house is so big. I'm still finding new places." Elena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "That room is storage. Old furniture, records, things we keep but don't use. Very boring." "Oh, okay." She walked closer, and I felt myself taking an involuntary step back. "Alexandra, you're welcome in any part of this house, but that room, it's just clutter. Vincent's been meaning to have it cleaned out for years. Nothing interesting, I promise." The way she said it made me certain she was lying. That night, I mentioned it to Marcus. "There's a locked room on the 3rd floor. Your mom said it's storage, but why would storage need a digital lock?" He was getting ready for bed, barely paying attention. "Probably old financial documents. My father's paranoid about keeping records secure. So why not keep them in his study?" Marcus sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was tired of talking. "Alex, I don't know. It's an old house with old stuff in it. Does it matter?" I guess not. But it did matter, because over the next few days, I noticed something. Every night, around 2 or 3 in the morning, I'd hear footsteps in the hallway above us. Soft, careful, then silence. Someone was going in and out of that room when they thought everyone else was asleep. I didn't want to be that person. The suspicious fiancée who doesn't trust her future in-laws. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong in that house. So I did what any rational person with unlimited resources would do. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Rebecca Chen, and she came highly recommended from a friend of a friend who'd used her services during a messy divorce. Rebecca was in her 40s, sharp-eyed, with an air of professional skepticism that made me feel both reassured and guilty. We met at a coffee shop in Stamford, far enough from Greenwich that I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. "What exactly are you looking for?" Rebecca asked, stirring her coffee. "I don't know," I admitted. "That's the problem. Something feels off about my fiancé's family. The way they act, the way the staff behaves around them. And there's this locked room. You want me to investigate the Castellanos?" It wasn't a question. "Can you do that? I mean, they're very powerful. Everyone's powerful until you find out what they're hiding." Rebecca pulled out a tablet. "Tell me everything. Names, locations, anything unusual you've noticed." I told her about the locked room, the late-night footsteps, the way Vincent's eyes went cold when he thought no one was looking, the staff members who seemed terrified, the way Elena had lied about the storage. Rebecca took notes, nodding occasionally. When I finished, she sat back. "Alexandra, I'm going to be straight with you. If the Castellanos are hiding something, it's going to be buried deep. These families don't stay wealthy by being careless. Are you sure you want to know what I might find?" "Yes," I said, though part of me wondered if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. "Okay. Give me 2 weeks." She called me 8 days later. "We need to meet, now, and not somewhere public." The urgency in her voice made my stomach drop. We met in her car, parked in a lot behind a defunct strip mall in Bridgeport. Rebecca didn't waste time. She handed me a folder. "The Castellano family empire isn't built on hotels and restaurants. That's the front, the legitimate business they use to launder money from their real operation." My hands were shaking as I opened the folder. Inside were photographs, documents, spreadsheets. What am I looking at? Labor trafficking. The Castellanos run one of the largest human trafficking operations in North America. They bring people in from Central and South America, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, promise them jobs, better lives. Then they trap them, take their documents, force them to work in their hotels, restaurants, factories. No pay or pennies on the dollar. They can't leave, can't get help. I felt like I was going to be sick. That's impossible. The Castellanos are respected. They donate to charity. They're on boards of... All of it's a cover. Alexandra, they've been doing this for at least 30 years. Your future father-in-law built his empire on slave labor. Rebecca pulled out more documents. "Look at this. These are financial records I managed to obtain. See these shell companies? They all trace back to Vincent Castellano. And these shipment manifests? They're not shipping furniture. They're moving people." I stared at the papers, my vision blurring. "Does Marcus know?" "I don't know, but his name appears on some of these documents. He's listed as a director of 3 of these shell companies." No. Marcus couldn't know. He was good. He cared about people. He volunteered at homeless shelters, for God's sake. He couldn't be part of this. "There's more," Rebecca said quietly. "That locked room you mentioned? I did some digging. The estate's blueprints show that room connects to a network of tunnels beneath the house. Old Prohibition-era passages that the Castellanos renovated. I think they're using them to move people in and out without being seen. I couldn't breathe. The car felt too small, the air too thick. What do I do? I whispered. Rebecca looked at me with something like pity. That depends. How much do you love him? I didn't go back to the estate that night. I couldn't. Instead, I checked into a hotel in Manhattan under a fake name and spent hours staring at the documents Rebecca had given me. Financial records showing millions moving through shell companies, testimonies from workers who'd escaped, horrific stories of abuse, imprisonment, families threatened, photographs of people with dead eyes standing in hotel kitchens, restaurant supply rooms, factory floors, and Marcus's name. Over and over. Director, authorized signatory, beneficiary. Either he knew and was part of it, or he was willfully blind. I wasn't sure which was worse. I called him around midnight. We need to talk. Alex, where are you? My mother said you left this afternoon and haven't come back. I've been worried. Meet me tomorrow. City Diner on 53rd Street. Noon. What's going on? I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in that sterile hotel room, watching the city lights and wondering how I'd been so stupid, how I'd missed this, how I'd fallen in love with someone who might be a monster. Marcus was already at the diner when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth. He looked worried, tired. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. Alex, thank God. What happened? Why did you leave? I slid into the booth and put the folder on the table between us. Tell me about your family's real business. His face went pale. What? The labor trafficking, the shell companies, the people you keep locked up and forced to work for nothing. My voice was shaking. Tell me you don't know. Please, Marcus. Tell me you have no idea what your family does. He stared at the folder like it was a bomb. Then he looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Is it true? He was quiet for a long time. Too long. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. My father, he runs things a certain way. I don't get involved in that side of the business. But you know about it. Alex, you know about it. My voice rose and other diners looked over. I forced myself to lower it. How long? How long have you known that your family enslaves people? Marcus rubbed his face with both hands. Since I was 20, my father told me. Said it was how we stayed competitive, how we built what we built. He called it maximizing efficiency. Like they were just resources, not people. I felt like I'd been punched. And you just accepted that? What was I supposed to do? Go to the police, destroy my own family? Yes, that's exactly what you were supposed to do. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Help me understand how the man I love, the man who proposed to me on a beach and promised me forever, can know about this and do nothing. Marcus leaned forward, his voice urgent. I've been trying to change things, slowly, from the inside. I've been working on transitioning the legitimate businesses away from the other operations. I've been trying to convince my father to phase it out. Phase it out? Marcus, people are suffering right now, today, while you're phasing it out. It's not that simple. My father has connections, powerful people who protect him, politicians, law enforcement, judges. If I go against him directly, I'll end up dead or in prison on fabricated charges. I've seen it happen to people who crossed him. I stared at the man I thought I knew. So you're a coward. He flinched like I'd slapped him. I'm trying to fix it the only way I can. By marrying me? By pulling my family into this nightmare? Your family won't be involved. I'd never. My name will be Castellano, Marcus. My children will be Castellanos. How am I not involved? I felt tears burning my eyes. Did you even love me? Or was I just part of your father's expansion plan? Don't. His voice cracked. Don't question that. I love you more than anything. You're the only good thing in my life. The only real thing. Then prove it. Go to the FBI, turn your father in. Shut this down. Marcus looked at me with such anguish that for a moment I thought he might actually do it. Then he shook his head. I can't. Alex, I'm sorry. I can't. I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. Then we're done. The engagement's off. Tell your family whatever you want, but I'm not marrying into this. Alex, please, don't contact me again. I walked out of that diner into the cold November air, and I didn't look back. My phone started ringing before I'd made it to the end of the block. Marcus, I declined the call. He called again, and again. I turned off my phone and kept walking. I should have known it wouldn't be that easy. 2 days after I ended things with Marcus, my father called me into his study at our family home in Palo Alto. I'd fled back to California, needing space and the comfort of the house I grew up in. Dad looked older than I remembered, tired. Alexandra, we need to talk about the Castellanos. There's nothing to talk about. The wedding's off. I know. Vincent called me. He's concerned about your reasons for ending the engagement. I felt a chill run down my spine. What did he say? He suggested that you might have gotten some incorrect information about his family business, that you might be confused. Dad looked at me carefully. He was very polite, very understanding. But Alex, there was an undertone, a threat. What kind of threat? The subtle kind. He mentioned how intertwined our businesses have become over the past 2 years. How unfortunate it would be if certain partnerships dissolved. How he'd hate to see complications arise from a misunderstanding. I sat down heavily. Dad, the Castellanos are trafficking people. Human beings. I have proof. Dad's expression didn't change. That scared me more than anything. What kind of proof? I told him everything. About hiring Rebecca, about the documents, about Marcus's admission. When I finished, Dad was quiet for a long time. You need to destroy those documents, he finally said. What? Alexandra, listen to me. The Castellanos aren't people you cross. If they think you have evidence, I do have evidence. We should go to the authorities. With what? Documents obtained by a private investigator? They'll claim it's all fabricated. They'll bury you in legal action. And worse. He stopped, looking genuinely frightened. These people make problems disappear, Alex. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you telling me to just let them keep enslaving people because I'm afraid? I'm telling you to stay alive. Dad's voice rose. Damn it, Alexandra, you're my daughter. I don't care about right or wrong when it comes to your safety. Well, I care. I stood up. I can't just pretend I don't know. My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Pierce. Vincent Castellano's voice was smooth, friendly, like we were old friends chatting. I hope I'm not disturbing you. My blood ran cold. How did you get this number? I wanted to reach out personally. I understand you and Marcus have decided to part ways. That's unfortunate, but these things happen. Young love can be complicated. What do you want? I want to make sure there are no hard feelings, that this ends amicably, with both our families moving forward positively. A pause. I'd hate for any misunderstandings to cause problems. For anyone. The threat was crystal clear even through his pleasant tone. I don't have anything to say to you, I managed. Of course, of course. I just want you to know that I consider this matter closed, and I trust you feel the same way. After all, dragging things out would be unpleasant for everyone. Your family has such a wonderful reputation. It would be terrible if anything tarnished that. He hung up before I could respond. I looked at my father. He'd heard enough of the conversation to understand. Pack a bag, he said quietly. You're not staying here tonight. My father moved me to a safe house. Actually, it was more like a safe mansion, a property in Aspen that a friend of his owned, far from California, far from Connecticut, far from anyone connected to the Castellanos. I spent a week there, alone except for a security detail my father insisted on. A week of staring at mountains and snow and trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. Rebecca called me every other day with updates. The Castellanos are scrambling. They've moved some of their operations, shut down a few of the shell companies. They know someone has evidence, and they're doing damage control. What about the people they're holding? No way to know. They're probably moving them too, scattering them across different locations. I felt sick. Because of me. Because I'd confronted Marcus instead of going straight to the authorities. I'd given them time to cover their tracks. Rebecca, what should I do? Honestly? Disappear. Take your father's money, change your name, and live quietly somewhere they'll never find you. I can't do that. Then go to the FBI. But understand, these people have protected the Castellanos for years. You'll be painting a target on your back, and you might not survive long enough to see justice done. After she hung up, I sat in that huge, empty house and thought about everything. About Marcus, who I'd loved. About the people suffering while I hid in luxury. About my father's fear and Vincent's threats. And I thought about who I wanted to be. I'd grown up with privilege. Never had to struggle. Never had to fight for anything. Everything was handed to me on a silver platter. Even my relationship with Marcus had felt easy, natural, like it was meant to be. But this required courage I wasn't sure I had. I called my father. I'm going to the FBI. Silence on the other end. Then, Alex, please reconsider. I can't live with myself if I don't. These people need help. Real help. Not me hiding in Aspen hoping the Castellanos forget about me. They'll come after you. Then they come after me. Dad, I know you want to protect me. I know you're scared. But this is bigger than me. Bigger than our family. This is about doing what's right. Another long silence. Then my father's voice, thick with emotion. You're braver than I am. No, I'm just done being a coward. I flew to Washington, D.C. the next morning with Rebecca and a lawyer my father hired, a woman named Margaret Chen, who specialized in whistleblower cases. We met with an FBI agent named Sarah Mitchell at the Hoover Building. Agent Mitchell was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with keen eyes that missed nothing. I laid out everything, the documents, the testimonies Rebecca had collected, Marcus's admission, the locked room, the tunnels. She listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, she sat back. This is extensive. If even half of this is true, we're looking at one of the largest trafficking operations we've encountered. It's all true, I said. I believe you. But building a case against someone like Vincent Castellano isn't simple. We'll need more than documents from a PI. We'll need witnesses willing to testify, hard evidence, a paper trail that can't be dismissed in court. What do you need from me? Agent Mitchell looked at me carefully. Everything. Your full cooperation, testimony, and... She hesitated. We'd need you to go back. Back where? To the estate. Wear a wire. Get Vincent to talk. Maybe Marcus, too. Recorded confessions would be invaluable. My lawyer immediately objected. Absolutely not. That's too dangerous. I'll do it, I said. Everyone stared at me. Alexandra, you don't have to... Margaret began. Yes, I do. I looked at Agent Mitchell. When? Wearing a wire is nothing like it looks in movies. It's terrifying. The FBI fitted me with a device so small I could barely believe it would work. Hidden in a necklace I always wore, apparently modified by their tech team. Agent Mitchell coached me for hours on what to say, how to guide conversations, how to stay safe. If at any point you feel threatened, use the safe word. We'll have agents positioned around the property. They can be inside in under 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a long time to be dead, I pointed out. She didn't smile. Don't get dead. Guide the conversation, but don't push too hard. Let Vincent feel in control. Men like him love to brag when they think they're winning. The plan was simple. I'd reach out to Marcus, say I wanted to talk about ending things properly. He'd bring me to the estate. He'd want to fix things, convince me to come back. Once there, I'd talk to Vincent, express concerns about the accusations I'd heard, see if he'd slip up and confirm anything. Simple. Except for the part where they might kill me if they figured out what I was doing. I called Marcus from a burner phone. He answered on the first ring. Alex, we need to talk, in person, about ending this the right way. Yes, God, yes. When? Where? Your family's estate, tomorrow. I think I owe your parents a conversation, an explanation. I could hear the hope in his voice. He thought I was coming back. I'll send a car for you. No, I'll drive myself. 2 o'clock? Perfect. Alex, thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance to explain. I hung up without responding. Agent Mitchell nodded approvingly. Good. Confident but not eager. He won't suspect anything. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Vincent figuring out I was wired. Marcus getting hurt if things went bad. The FBI not getting there in time. But I also thought about the people in those photographs Rebecca had shown me. The hollow eyes. The hopeless faces. And I knew I had to do this. The estate looked different when I pulled up the next afternoon. More sinister. Or maybe I was just seeing it clearly for the first time. Marcus met me at the door. He looked like he hadn't slept either. You came. I said I would. He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Hurt flashed across his face. Right, of course. Are your parents here? My father's in his study. My mother's in the city. Alex, before we see him, can we talk? Just us? That's why I'm here. We walked to the same sitting room where Elena had served me tea during my first visit to the estate. It felt like a lifetime ago. Marcus sat across from me, leaning forward, hands clasped. I've been thinking about everything you said. You're right. I've been a coward. I've been telling myself I was handling it, but really I was just avoiding it. Avoiding the hard choice. What hard choice? Between my family and what's right. He looked up at me. I choose what's right. I'll go to the authorities. I'll testify against my father. All of it. Just don't leave me. Please. For a moment, I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think love could actually fix this, but I'd learned that some stains don't wash out. Why now? I asked. Why not months ago? Years ago? Because I didn't have a reason to be brave before. You gave me that reason. That's not good enough, Marcus. People are suffering now. They were suffering when you knew about it and did nothing. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it. But I need you to understand. Leaving my family, going against my father, it means giving up everything. My inheritance, my name, probably my freedom if my father's lawyers get creative. The only way I can do this is if I have something to hold on to. Someone. You want me to be your reward for doing the right thing? No. I want you to be my reason for being strong enough to do it. Before I could respond, the door opened. Vincent Castellano walked in, impeccable in a tailored suit, smiling like this was a friendly social call. Alexandra. What a pleasant surprise. Marcus said you wanted to talk. I stood. This was it. Mr. Castellano, yes, I wanted to apologize for how I ended things. I may have overreacted to some rumors I heard. Vincent's smile didn't waver, but his eyes sharpened. Rumors? About your business. Some ridiculous accusations. I realize now I should have come to you directly instead of assuming they were true. What kind of accusations? His voice was still pleasant, but there was steel underneath. About how you staff your properties, where your workers come from. I'm sure it's all completely legal, but you hired a private investigator anyway. He said it flatly. Not a question. My blood ran cold. Alexandra, please don't insult my intelligence. I know about Rebecca Chen. I know about your meeting with her in Bridgeport. I know everything. He walked closer, and I fought the urge to back away. The question is, what did you do with the information she gave you? Marcus stood up. Dad, what are you talking about? Your fiancé has been very busy, Marcus, very nosy. Vincent's pleasant mask was slipping. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That I don't have people watching, listening? I've built an empire by staying 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Mr. Castellano, I don't know what you think You went to the FBI. He said it with certainty. Yesterday, you met with Agent Sarah Mitchell for 3 hours. You gave them everything. Oh, God, he knew. How did he know? Vincent pulled out his phone, pressed a button. Which means you're wearing a wire right now. 2 men I'd never seen before appeared in the doorway. Large, armed, not the usual estate security. Marcus stepped between them and me. Dad, what the hell? Move aside, son. No. Whatever you're thinking of doing, no. Vincent looked at his son with something like disappointment. You were always too soft. Like your mother. I'd hoped you'd grow out of it. I'm not letting you hurt her. She's going to destroy everything we've built, everything your grandfather and I sacrificed for. And you're defending her? What you've built is a nightmare. Marcus's voice cracked. I've been living with it, knowing what you do, hating myself for not stopping it. But it ends now. Alex is right. It has to end. Vincent's expression went cold. Take her. The 2 men moved forward. Marcus grabbed a lamp from the side table, swinging it at one of them. It bought me maybe 3 seconds. Oak tree! I screamed, the safe word, and ran. I made it to the hallway before one of the men caught my arm. I kicked, scratched, fighting like my life depended on it. Because it did. Then I heard it. Shattering glass, shouts. FBI, nobody move! The man holding me hesitated for just a second. It was enough. I twisted away and ran toward the voices, toward safety, toward the agents pouring through the front door. Behind me, I heard Vincent Castellano's voice, calm even now. My lawyers will have this thrown out before dinner. But Agent Mitchell was already there, snapping handcuffs on him. Vincent Castellano, you're under arrest for human trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and about 15 other charges. You have the right to remain silent. I sank against the wall, shaking, as FBI agents flooded the estate. Someone wrapped a blanket around me. Someone else was asking if I was hurt. I looked back toward the sitting room. Marcus was standing in the doorway, blood on his face from where one of the guards had hit him. Our eyes met. He mouthed 2 words. I'm sorry. Then the agents led him away too. The trial took 18 months. Vincent Castellano hired the best defense team money could buy, but it wasn't enough. The evidence was overwhelming. Not just what I'd provided, but what the FBI found once they started digging. They raided properties across 12 states. They found people, men, women, even children, being held in conditions you wouldn't keep animals in. Working 18-hour days. Beaten if they complained. Threatened with deportation or harm to their families if they tried to escape. The numbers were staggering. Over 2,000 people trafficked through Castellano operations in the last decade alone. Probably more before that, but records only went back so far. Vincent was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. He'll die there. Elena got 15 for her role in laundering the money. Dozens of others, managers, recruiters, corrupt officials, went down with them. Marcus cooperated with the FBI, testified against his father, helped them understand the network, the connections, how it all worked. In exchange, he got immunity from prosecution. We never spoke again after that day at the estate. What would we even say? Sorry your family enslaved people, but hey, we had some good times. Some things can't be forgiven or forgotten. Some betrayals, even passive ones, are too deep. I heard he moved to Europe, started over under a different name. I hope he's actually trying to be better. But I don't think about him much anymore. My father and I started a foundation. We used a significant portion of our family wealth, money that was never tainted by the Castellanos, thank God, to help trafficking survivors. Legal aid, housing, job training, therapy. Everything they needed to rebuild their lives. I met some of them, heard their stories. A woman named Maria who'd been promised a housekeeping job in New York, but ended up locked in a hotel basement in Newark for 3 years. A man named Chen who thought he was coming to America to work in a restaurant, but became a prisoner in a Castellano factory in Ohio. A girl named Lucia who was only 16 when they took her. Their strength humbled me. After everything they'd been through, they were still fighting, still hoping, still believing in a better future. Why are you doing this? Maria asked me once during a foundation event. You could have walked away, married into that family, been rich and comfortable and never known any of this. I thought about that question for a long time before answering. Because I did know. And once you know, you can't unknow. You can only decide what kind of person you want to be with that knowledge. She hugged me then, and in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt since before I found that locked room. Peace, not happiness. I don't know if I'll ever be truly happy again after everything I've seen. But peace, the kind that comes from knowing you did the right thing, even when it cost you everything. The media called me a hero. I'm not. Heroes don't hesitate. Heroes don't fall in love with the enemy and almost marry into a crime family. Heroes don't need private investigators to tell them something's wrong. I'm just someone who had a choice and, eventually, made the right one. That's all any of us can do. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder what would have happened if I'd never found that locked room. If I'd married Marcus, lived in that mansion, raised children who would inherit that blood-soaked empire. Would I have been happy in my ignorance? Would I have eventually found out? Or would I have lived my whole life not knowing? I think I would have known eventually. You can't build something that evil without it seeping into everything around it. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you bury it. And when it does, you have to decide. Do you look away? Do you make excuses? Do you tell yourself it's complicated, that you can't do anything, that someone else will fix it? Or do you do something about it? 3 years after Vincent's sentencing, I stood at a podium in Washington, D.C., speaking before Congress about strengthening anti-trafficking laws. In the audience were survivors from the Castellano operations, people who'd been freed because of evidence gathered during the investigation. I saw their faces, saw their strength, saw the lives they were rebuilding from ashes, and I thought about that 4th of July weekend in the Hamptons, the proposal on the beach, the diamond ring that could feed a small country, the fairy tale I thought I was living. That fairy tale was built on nightmares, and I'm glad, so deeply glad, that I woke up before it was too late. My name is Alexandra Pierce. I'm 29 years old. I'm the daughter of a Silicon Valley billionaire and the former fiancé of a man whose family enslaved thousands of people. I lost the love of my life, my sense of safety, and my faith in happy endings. But I gained something more important. I gained the knowledge that when faced with evil, real, terrible evil, I was brave enough to fight it. And that's worth more than any inheritance, any ring, any merger of empires. Because at the end of the day, we don't get to choose what we're born into. We don't get to choose what secrets we uncover or what truths we stumble across. But we do get to choose what we do with that knowledge. We get to choose who we become. I chose to be someone I could live with, someone I could look at in the mirror without shame, someone who understood that love isn't enough if it requires you to ignore suffering, that loyalty to family doesn't matter if that family is built on bones. The locked room in the Castellano mansion, the FBI found what was in it: documents, ledgers, names and dates and places. Everything Vincent had kept as insurance, as leverage, as proof of his power. That room was his trophy case, his monument to everything he'd built through cruelty and exploitation. They're using those documents now to track down other operations, other families, other empires built on the same foundation of human suffering. The investigation keeps spreading, like pulling one thread and watching an entire tapestry unravel. Sometimes I think about Vincent in his prison cell. I wonder if he regrets any of it, if he lies awake at night thinking about the lives he destroyed. Probably not. Men like him don't feel regret. They feel inconvenienced by consequences. But his victims, the people he treated as commodities, they're the ones I think about most. The ones who are free now, the ones who are testifying, the ones who are healing. They're the real heroes in this story. Not me. I just opened a door. They're the ones who walked through it, despite everything it cost them, and demanded justice. So if you take anything from my story, let it be this: pay attention to the locked doors, to the questions that don't get answered, to the feeling in your gut that something isn't right, even when everything looks perfect on the surface. Because evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like a handsome man proposing on a beach, Sometimes it looks like a beautiful mansion filled with art and elegance. Sometimes it looks like a family empire that employs thousands and donates millions to charity. But underneath, it's still evil. And if you find yourself face to face with it, you'll have to make a choice. The same choice I made. Do you look away, or do you fight? I fought, and I'd do it again. Even knowing everything I know now, even knowing what it cost me. Because some things are worth more than comfort, more than wealth, more than love. Your integrity is one of them. Your humanity is another. Don't lose either in the pursuit of a fairy tale. Because I promise you, if that fairy tale requires you to ignore someone else's nightmare, it was never worth having in the first place. That's my story. That's my truth. And if it helps even one person recognize the warning signs, make the hard choice. Do the right thing when everything in them wants to look away. Then maybe, just maybe, everything I went through meant something. Maybe that's the real happy ending. Not the one where I marry the prince and live in the castle, but the one where I burn the castle down and help the prisoners escape. Yeah. I think I'm okay with that ending after all. Before you go, can I ask you for a quick favor? If you enjoyed this story, please hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. It might seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference for this channel. Subscriptions help YouTube show these stories to more people who need to hear them, and notifications make sure you never miss the next chapter. Your support is what keeps this channel alive. It's what allows me to spend hours crafting these stories, making sure every word hits the way it should. And honestly, knowing you're out there listening makes every late night worth it. So subscribe, hit that bell, and let's keep this community growing. More stories are coming, and I can't wait to share them with you.